morning, sports fans. We have a really special treat for you this morning as we get a chance to talk some college basketball here in the Bronx with WFUV's own Thomas Aiello. Thomas, how's it going?
What's going on, Bobby? Thank you so much for having me here on BronxNet TV.
It's so great to see you, man. I mean, I definitely take a lot of pride in the fact that you're coming up strong in the business, really excited for your future. I think it's great that you're doing big things with the Rams. And I think it's an exciting time here in the Bronx because Fordham basketball, particularly on both sides, I mean, I know the fans here in the BX have seen so many great things from the women's program, but we finally have a men's team here in the BX that's doing big things too. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with Fordham men's basketball.
Well, I do think that Fordham's athletic director, Ed Cole, really summed up the men's team best, calling it a startup company. That's really what it's become, this rebuilding project of bringing the Fordham men's basketball team back to life. And Bobby, you and I know, we talk about it all the time, how much of a storied tradition it is at Rose Hill. The likes of David Maxwell, Charlie Yelverton way back in the 70s and 80s to the 90s with those Patriot League teams. And some of the 2000s teams were pretty good, but ever since the calendar has turned into that 2010s decade, it's been a little bit of a rough patch. But now we're seeing Kyle Neptune come over from Villanova, and he's just reinvigorated the program with tremendous energy, and there's a lot of excitement. He brought in over 10 new players coming in from the transfer portal. Now, he took advantage, of course, with the NCAA changing their rules, having those players in those portals get instant eligibility. And that has been a really big thing for them, for the Rams. And two of those players I want to highlight, Andrel Charlton and Darius Quisenberry, two of the stalwarts in the Fordham starting lineup, have really been key to this team's 9-5 record so far here. And they've just put on a show in the Atlantic 10. I mean, Fordham for quite a while has been thought of as the cakewalk team. And now they're a really competitive team. They're hungry on the defensive side. And everything's going right so far here in year number one of this rebuild.
I think right now, when you look at this Rams roster, there's going to be some adjustments because the big news, and maybe you could tell us a little bit more about it, is the loss of one of their key players.
Yeah, so Antonio Day Jr., following his buzzer beater against Duquesne at the Rose Hill Gym and in front of no fans, so it wasn't as exciting as I thought it was going to be. Obviously, if the fans were there, it would be much more of a livelier scene. But nonetheless, the Rams win that game. And then the next day, we get an announcement. I first saw it from John Rothstein's Twitter when he said Antonio Day Jr. will be leaving the school due to personal reasons. There's been no information beyond that. So it's really a situation. And as media members, Bobby, you and I can agree, it's definitely not something you want to go snooping around or speculating on. And I don't know too much about what's going on, but you hope that really whatever it is, he gets help or everything you hope is okay. But from a pure basketball standpoint, that is a humongous loss for them because that was potentially a second or maybe even a first team All-Atlantic 10 player, averaging near 17 points per game. He had lightning speed going north to south. He was a fantastic ball handler. And I don't think I ever saw him frowning. Every time I've seen him around, I don't know if he was ever down or just sad. He was always smiling at something, even if it just wasn't something that had happened. He always looked like he was playing with such joy. But now you lose that player, and now that puts Kyle Neptune in a really sticky spot because it's not like the NBA where you can go out and make trades, you can give up draft picks and get players to replace that. He's got to wait a couple of months, quite a few months, in fact, until next fall when some of his recruits come in maybe to fill that void. But for now, it's going to be a rough patch for this men's team, but a lot of good things came out of that St. Louis game in their last game in the Atlantic 10.
Now, I guess the hope is at Fordham, at Rose Hill, that the next man up type of mentality. We've seen it many times, especially in college basketball, where maybe one of the younger players gets an opportunity to shine. And I think that's just the position they're in right now.
It certainly is. And look, I think Coach Neptune, he's got a lot of interesting pieces on that team. I think some of those players include Cameron Cunningham, a 6'7" athletic wing who really is going to have to be more aggressive on the offensive side. Ahmad Harrison, the freshman from Maryland, who there is no fear in that young man on the defensive end. The question becomes, how are the Rams going to hold up on offense? Again, losing a 17-point per game scorer like Antonio Day is detrimental to the success of this team. Now, you would hope, if you're a fan, that they get around the 12-win mark and just kind of hold on from there. But there was a lot of good, Bobby, like you said, that came out of that St. Louis game. They forced 20 turnovers out of the Billikens, only had 10 as a Fordham team, which is really good. Shows they're taking care of the basketball. But the one thing they're really missing, and it's a disparity here in the shooting, is the score. I mean, the scoring. And again, I'll repeat it one more time. Antonio Davis, 17 points per game. Rams essentially shoot 29% from the field for the entire game. And that's a humongous loss, and they have to find a way to fix that.
I was wondering if you had an opportunity to see some of the other local teams. Iona College, of course, is undefeated in the MAC conference. Manhattan men's basketball, they beat them the other night. Big rivalry there, just like it is with Fordham. And Manhattan men's team 2-2 in the conference. Any thoughts on some of the other local teams that are playing well or not playing well?
Well, I want to say about Iona is that Rick Pitino is just really a really good coach, a great basketball mind. And you can talk a lot about what's happened off the court when he was at Louisville or any of these places, but you can't ever underestimate his X's and O's abilities. The fact he's able to get the Iona Gales to the NCAA tournament last season, and now this year they're even better than they were last year, I think that's a real testament to the coach that he is. And Manhattan, I will also say this. In the Battle of the Bronx, when they play Fordham, the Fordham Rams always march into that game that, oh, we're the A-10 team. We're the superior team. And Manhattan always likes to come out and punch the Rams in the mouth. And they're really good games every single year. I mean, I can't say anything bad about watching and growing up with that rivalry and just seeing the competitiveness between the two teams. And it's really city pride. It's a lot of fun to go and watch. But I guess one of the other local teams that I'm really high on, if we can maybe step out to New Jersey, is Seton Hall. That's a team I've really been paying attention to. I like Kevin Willard and his system oriented around defense. He makes a lot of adjustments in game, which is really good. They've got a really versatile star in Jared Rhoden, who's probably going to be all Big East this year. And St. John's too. I think there's something there going with Mike Anderson, former Fordham Ram. Joel Soriano's on the team, so that gives them a boost in the paint. But Julian Champagny, who is playing like an absolute All-American right now, over 20 points per game, on pretty good efficiency for a guy that likes to shoot a lot, and he's got a minion in Posh Alexander. So a lot of New York, New Jersey basketball has come back to life, and it's really exciting, Bobby.
And pretty crazy to think at this point of the season that we both be talking about the Johnnies 9-5, Fordham 9-5 at the same time, kind of like a rebirth of college basketball here in this area.
It really is like a rebirth, Bobby. And I don't remember, but I hear stories all the time about the 80s rivalries between Fordham and St. John's, Seton Hall, and all of these local powerhouses. We have to remember at one point, Fordham was in that conversation as a national powerhouse in the early 70s when they had, I believe it was 2 or 3 All-Americans. Charlie Yelverton, Ken Charles were the two. And they went 26-7 that year. They finished in the top 10 in the rankings. They went as far as the Sweet 16, I believe it was, in the March Madness tournament. And they were really a legitimate team at one point. Now, they started to get into more leagues, and then the competition, other things happened, but they were still a very good local program, a respected local program. And you look forward to the future, I guess, of New York basketball. The big thing is how many players just come out of this city that want to play for these local teams.
Well, Thomas, before we let you go, doing a great job, like I said, on the 90.7 FM broadcast, both on the women and on the men's side. Just for you personally, tell us a little bit about your career. You're a junior at Fordham. Hard to believe. You sound great. Tell us a little bit how things are going for you.
It's been a lot of fun. You and I obviously talk, I think, all the time. I text you every other day about God knows what. It can be any random Fordham basketball fact that I just find in the archives, but it's been cool. FUV is an awesome experience, and it's definitely something I want to continue with as I go into the future. And I really also enjoy writing. That's really an aspect of, I guess, my toolbox that I love to do. I'm the assistant sports editor now at the Fordham Rams, the school newspaper. So I get to read all of the submissions that come in, edit them, make them better. And something really cool to be in a position like that, being a leader, to sort of guide people to do better and wanting them to do better and helping them get better. I think that's really what has struck me, especially now as a junior, and you're in a little bit of an older role. You're an older player, I guess, if you will, on the team. So you have to get these younger kids ready to go. Like, hey, this is how this is done, or I like to do this. Why don't you try it this way? I think that's really been the big takeaway for me. As much as I love doing it, for me, it's interacting with people and helping them get better has been my number one, I guess, not observation, more of just like a thing that I can experience.
Well, Thomas, you got a bright future ahead of you, and so does college basketball here in these parts. A great time of year to be a fan. Appreciate you taking some time to chat with me this morning.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby. No problem. Go Rams.
See you soon. Go Rams.